yourself. Don't try to be something that you're not. As a ball player, I knew what my strengths were, and I went with my strengths,
Welcome back, Hatter baseball fans, to another episode of Coffee with Hats. I'm your host, Mark Michaud Jr., and this week we get to sit down with the record holder for career saves and appearances in Stetson baseball history. Retired jersey number 26, Tommy Hickox. Throughout this interview, you'll see Tommy's passion to inspire and help others is part of what makes him a Hall of Famer on and off the field. There are some great stories and some great pieces of information for up-and-coming baseball players. So let's not waste any time and get right to it with the most decorated closer in Stetson Hatter history, Tommy Hickox, number 26. Welcome to the show, Tommy.
Thank you, Mark. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I noticed that you got that Stetson hat on. Appreciate you, throwing the hat back on for us this morning. And you got a coffee mug with you?
I do. Aspire to inspire.
I love it.
Had to dig this out of my wife's collection there. I'm not a coffee drinker myself, but it's got some water in it. I'm good. What
are you going with in the mornings then?
Mountain Dew is my caffeine fix in the morning. Gets me going.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, we've had some guys that have coffee mugs and they aren't coffee drinkers either, and they're like, "Yeah, this is my mug," and they're flopping it all around. I'm like, "Yeah, it looks like you got a lot of coffee in there." They just start dying laughing. So that's fun. So let's kind of kick right into it. What does it mean for you to have your number retired? I mean, you're in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of baseball players that are in the Stetson Athletics Department Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. But to have your number retired at a program, I mean, that's an honor. So I was just curious what that means to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite an honor. Coming from DeLand, playing my youth ball in the same ballpark that I got a chance to play, collegiately from the age of 13, being on that same field. And the day they retired my jersey, they had my parents. It was near the end of the season, I guess, my senior year. And it was before one of the games. And, they made a big ceremony, before the game. And my parents were able to enjoy it. They've always been a big part of my success, and for them to be able to be there and share in that honor, it meant a lot to me.
No, that's awesome. And a lot of times, I ask our players, to current players, when we do these, who a baseball influence was to them. And a lot of it was dad, their dad. And like I'm guessing your parents were doing the same with you?
Oh yeah. They didn't miss it. They didn't miss anything. From the moment I stepped on a baseball field, my daddy was always willing to hit balls to me or catch. My brother played a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
My older brother, he would sit out in the, on the road there, and I would throw to him, and doggone it, we didn't have any backstop or anything. So if a ball got by him, I had to go chase it. And,
he's not going to get it.
One ball league. So nonetheless, I learned to pepper the zone at a young age because I didn't want to chase too many baseballs down the street.
Oh, that's great. That's perfect. And so again, I've never had the opportunity to watch you pitch. So when I was talking with Coach Dunn, he was telling me that, you were like a low 3/4 guy, kind of, that was an era where everything was really kind of over the top, and just those were kind of the mechanics taught. And you were different and funky in your delivery, which helped lead to you being a pitcher. Is that a way that you were pitching when you were young too, or did you kind of develop that as you got older?
No, it kind of morphed over time into that, honestly. I was probably always a 3/4 guy, But then I remember Kent DeCovey, you know, he was a closer with the Pirates when I was growing up. And of course, Dennis Eckersley is who I really looked up to. But I think over time, just because I got in my mind, I forget who put it in it, but at a young age is you don't get hurt low in the zone too often. And so I had that ingrained for me at a young age. And so I always tried to keep it around the knees.
Yeah.
If they hit it, I hope it went to somebody, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just something that morphed over time. And I think once I got to Stetson and, you know, I was given the ball pretty routinely day in and day out, I think just naturally it just kind of dropped down.
And was that just kind of like it just was happening and that's where it felt the best coming out of?
Well, yeah. I mean, even going back to, like I say, when I would pitch with my brother in the yard and stuff, you know, I would purposely, you know, drop down and do a serious, you know, sidearm throw and try to work those in. But, you know, I didn't really do it when it came game time. And then I didn't purposely do it over time. Like I say, it just kind of morphed into it, you know.
Well, that's awesome. Because I kind of feel like that's something that people would be like, no, don't do that. You know, I remember back in the day growing up myself, like people were kind of don't do that. But that's cool that, you know, that worked for you and that people, your coaches allowed you to kind of just do what worked, right? What felt right for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, you talked a little bit about growing up in DeLand. And, you know, obviously I've kind of been here for a couple of years now and gotten a huge sense of what the community is about here. The community's big into DeLand High School. The community's big into Stetson, huge supporters of both of those things. And so now here you are, someone who has had success in both places. What led to your choice and decision to go to Stetson?
Well, frankly, you know, Stetson was the only four-year school that showed interest in me. Seminole State up the road was a community college that showed interest. You know, just growing up, I mean, my dream was to go to Florida State. I'm not going to lie to you, you know.
Right.
But, you know, Florida State's not interested. Stetson is. And, you know, Stetson got me. And it wasn't that hard. I'll tell you a funny little story. When I went on my recruiting trip at Stetson, Rick Hall, my pitching coach, he was touring me around campus. And we go into the commons, you know, the cafeteria. And I remember this, you know. And, you know, I'm looking, I see a fountain drink soda machine. And there's Mellow Yellow there. And I'm like, can I get to this? He goes, you can have as much Mellow Yellow as you want, you know. And I kid you not. That was a selling point for me. So when you guys bring people on campus, you never know what's going to attract them, you know. For me, it was all you can drink Mellow Yellow, you know.
That's awesome. You never know. Exactly right, man.
Never know.
Is great. I love that. That is such a good. That is a great story. Awesome. So, Mellow Yellow. Okay, that was one thing that led you to Stetson. The two was, you know, obviously interest from Stetson. Did you get to go to like Coach Dunn camps? Did you kind of get to know these guys before you made your decision to come here?
Oh yeah. You know, I attended Pete Dunn's camps, and before him, his mentor, Jim Ward, baseball camps. You know, from a young age, I attended those things and always enjoyed the camps. Always learned something from the camps, and you know, and I guess just being a homegrown kid and having some success in high school, pitching some of our bigger games and stuff, and having some success. I think more than anything, I don't know if they necessarily seen a serious talent in me, but I think they seemed like a little bulldog, you know, and they thought maybe that would translate into something at the D1 level. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. And Bulldog, I would say you came as a DeLand Bulldog. That was one of the terms Coach Dunn used about you as a Bulldog competitor. Give him the ball anytime, he'll go and he'll compete. And not only did you compete, I mean, you were successful. You set records. On top of numerous single-season records for saves and appearances at Stetson, you're currently ranked 14th all-time in NCAA Division I baseball for relief appearances and hold the record for saves and appearances in a career at Stetson.
Yeah, that might be hard to beat for the simple fact that, for somebody to break that, they'd have to come in as a freshman, contribute right away, and stay all 4 years, which, most guys, if they're putting up those numbers, most guys have probably got the talent to play professional ball, and most of them probably going to leave after their junior year. But that wasn't my case, So, you got to contribute right away and do it for 4 years. So,
What are you doing nowadays? Like, what are you doing now? What's going on in life for you?
I'm an educator. I've taught every level, in the education system. In my 23rd year of teaching, I'm currently at DeLand High School, and I work with special needs kids. They're kids who are cognitively, behind, and I work with them on a daily basis, and it's a good gig. I really like working with these kids.
Yeah. And now you've also moved to the other side of the field, right?
Yeah. I'm doing some umpiring. I coached for several years at DeLand High School. We had some success. We had some down years too. But when I got out of coaching, I jumped into umpiring, and I've been doing that for the past, 7 years at the collegiate level. So it's been a way to keep a foot in the ball game, and getting paid for seeing the game better than anybody else in the stadium, So it's a neat little experience every time I step out there.
Awesome. So now if we can move on from that, how has what you did with the Stetson Baseball Program, being a Stetson baseball player, how has that impacted your life and prepared you for life after the game?
I think more than anything, just having a team approach to things, learning to work with people, learning to accept people's differences, trying to be understanding, be encouraging to people. Those are the big things that really stand out for me. I wish I had taken school more serious when I was in school. But looking back, basically the stuff on the baseball field and the experiences that I had with my teammates and coaches, that stands out more than anything to me. And, just trying to look for harmony, basically in life.
Well, kind of like your coffee mug, right?
That's right. Aspire to inspire, baby.
Yeah. And when I was talking to Coach Dunn about you, and because I've been talking to him about every guy that I'm getting to sit down with, he kind of mentioned, he's like, and he's a tough coach, right? He's trying to build toughness, and like we said, like he kind of is very straightforward. He's going to tell you where you stand. But there's always on those teams, I've noticed, that there's always a guy that can kind of cut to the core of the coach and kind of get him to lighten up a little bit and laugh. And he said that as tough as you were and as much of a bulldog as you were the guy that he could always, like, just randomly out of nowhere, you'd do something or say something that would just kind of make him laugh, even though he didn't necessarily want to show that he found what it was funny. He said you kind of have that lightheartedness to you in the program as well.
We had freshmen, you were required to go to study hall after dinner, after practice, after dinner and stuff. And I remember one time I was a little late going to study hall, and just a few minutes behind. And I came in, and I forget the guy's first name, but last name was Durham. He was helping out as a coach, maybe like a GA at the time, but he had played previously. So he's just, why are you late, Hickox? What are you doing? He's tapped. It's like, man, I had to help this lady across the street. I had a professor who was she was legally blind. So I had to help her across the street. Like, that's bull crap, Hickox. You didn't help anybody across the street. So, yeah, little things like that, I guess, But, yeah, there was an instance, too, during the spring season. We had just got swept by Georgia Southern, who was probably our biggest foe in the conference at the time. And, as Pete's addressing us after the game out in front of the dugout, I look over and their head coach, he's sitting there, he's got a broom and he's sweeping the top step of the dugout. And, I remember, I said, look at that. And I forget the word I used or whatever, but people took notice and, it just, oh man, it fired us up. Needless to say, when we went to their place, we put it on them. We got a sweep up at their place later in the season.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah. And it's always, you got to have those guys, right? Those, like, that's what makes the whole harmony of everything, right?
Yeah.
Next question that I have for you is, do you have any advice for current Stetson baseball players or any young baseball player that's out there that may watch this video?
Probably the biggest piece of advice is just be yourself. Don't try to be something that you're not. As a ball player, I knew what my strengths were, and I went with my strengths. Back then, I don't really remember us breaking down hitters and saying, hey, this is how you need to attack this hitter, this and that. At the end of the day, I knew if I kept the ball down at the knees, I wasn't going to get hurt. I wasn't going to walk people too often. They were going to have to string some hits together to push a run or two across the board. And basically believing in yourself and believing in your teammates, and everybody's just kind of accepting their role and just playing to your strengths, basically. Forget the other guy. What is your strength? Because if you're going to get beat, you want to get beat, on your best pitch or what you feel most comfortable with, not some secondary pitch that you second guess yourself with. So.
And when we were talking off camera, you said something that I thought was really, really great, that I felt that that young pitchers would it be beneficial for them to hear, because you get a chance to actually watch guys pitch when you're behind the plate, and you kind of mentioned about guys trying to throw hard. Could you kind of elaborate on what we were talking about earlier?
Yeah. Seeing it from a different perspective now and seeing the pitchers that have success at the college level and others that just kind of, go through. The ones that, to me, that have success are the ones that have a little moxie to them. It's the ones that they step on the mound and their teammates just kind of feel that, they're going to get the job done. But just I think a lot of young kids, they're so hyped into trying to light up the radar gun, instead of just maybe throwing a two-seamer or learning a sinker, trying to create little movement. Those, to me, as an umpire, the kids that have movement on their ball, regardless of how hard they throw, the ones that have movement on their ball and they can locate, those are the ones that have quick innings. Those are the ones that put goose eggs on the board. The one, and I also like tempo in a pitcher. Get the ball, short memory, get the ball, go back and do your thing. My biggest piece of advice is just kind of be yourself, do what's got you there. Of course, on the side, you want to do things to try to make yourself better, try to improve yourself. But let's face it, I got through college, honestly, with two pitches, a sinking fastball and a changeup, because my curveball, my breaking pitch was brutal. I don't even know why I would show it, because basically I'd show it and they could kind of eliminate that. Like, okay, I don't have to worry about that. So I don't even know why I would show that darn thing sometimes,
Yeah.
But I got away with just peppering the zone, keeping the ball down in the zone, and trusting my teammates behind me, basically.
Awesome.
But I will tell you this too. Something I took real serious is during practices, pitchers would hit fungos to the players, during BP. I always made it a point to try to give the best fungo I could to the players, because at the end of the day, they need quality fungo. And when I'm on the mound, hey, they've seen that ball hundreds of times, quality fungo. And I just think it helped everybody. So
Yeah.
Whatever you can do to contribute to your team, help your teammates out, hey, that's what it's all about.
That's great stuff, man. It's what you want to hear, and hopefully guys watch that and they kind of get a little bit from you.
Yeah.
A guy who's done it,
Yeah.
and done it at a very high level. So let's go into the last segment here, 3 strikes, couple quick hitters. So I'm going to throw the first one out there to you. What is your favorite Stetson baseball memory?
As a team, it was coming one game shy of the World Series, my freshman year up at Florida State. From a personal standpoint, it was my second start in my career, but my first one was, in the regional, my the championship game of the regional, my freshman year. But then my senior year, or maybe it was my junior year, I'm getting the years confused. But anyway, I had a chance to start the second end of a doubleheader against FIU down at their place. And Pete told me I was going to start. I remember we had like a rain delay. We went to Wendy's and stuff, whatever. We came back and Hickox were getting the ball. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to pitch 7 innings,
Mm-hmm.
But I took it 1 inning at a time. I was like, I'm going to close this inning, then I'm going to close the next one. And, through 7 innings, I pitched a shutout. We won 7-0 that day.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
That was just kind of confirmation to me that, I could have been successful as a starter too,
Sure.
So that's one of the coolest things, I think,
If we could touch back, and again, I learned about the regional your freshman year from Coach Dunn first talking to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really dig as deep until I started talking to you about it. So that regional, you guys, yes, you came 1 game away from going to Omaha, which, is everybody's dream, right? But that series, that was in Tallahassee at Florida State, and you had 3 it was you were 2-1, Stetson was 2-1, Florida was 2-1, and Florida State was 2-1, right? Going into the final.
That's right, yeah.
And to get to 2-1, you would have had 2 saves already. And so you ended up playing Florida State in game 1, and then the winner of that played Florida
mm-hmm.
in the game to go. So you end up coming in and closing out the game at Florida State to now have 3 saves, which then eventually you went to start game 4, right?
Right.
Or game 5, I guess game 5.
Yeah.
You were 3-1 to go to play Florida. What was it like on the mound? And you said it was about 3 innings or so that you had against Florida State in Tallahassee to close that game out. Like, what was that? What was that experience like for you? Can you walk through that?
Well, honestly, just the whole day. When we ate at Shoney's in the morning, that was always our breakfast spot on the road, Shoney's. I don't even know if they're around anymore. But anyway, I remember, we're eating as a team and the Tallahassee newspapers being passed around. And in it, they said they already had the matchup, Florida State versus Florida for the championship. So that was already in the paper. So we're passing around, we're reading it. And, we were all just fired up, to say the least. And so I just remember the feeling before the game on the field as you're throwing and stuff, getting loose with your buddies. There was just a good vibe in the air, and it really felt like good things are going to happen. And then, and I never really showed too much emotion on the field, but I remember striking out one of their guys or something. I kind of like pointed at him, kind of my glove, like, yeah, I got your behind, and I never really did that, but it's something just came out of me that day. And, it was a great experience. Then of course, Florida dampened our day later on, but, it was just a great experience to do that in front of their fans. The place was wild and everything else, but there's something about it when you're a pitcher out there and you can kind of shut up the home fans, it's a good feeling. So.
And a funny addition that Coach Dunn had mentioned to me, and he was like, I didn't hear about this until years later. Some of the parents, after Stetson won, were out in the parking lot, like doing tailgating in between games, eating lunch or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And all these Florida State fans were pulling in. They were coming in because they weren't going to go to game 1. They were just going to come see Florida State playing game 2. Yeah. And it ended up being that it was Stetson in there. And it's just a funny little piece to that story, which is just one of those things.
My understanding, too, was obviously, the Florida State fans were, wishing us well. The last thing they want is the Gators to move on. So.
Right. True. Yeah. All right. Hey, how about going to the next strike here? What are some special talents that you have that people might not know about?
Well, talents, I don't know. A place I feel pretty comfortable in is the kitchen.
Okay.
Not only the barbecue grill and stuff like that, like most guys feel pretty comfortable, but just in the kitchen in general. I do a decent bit of cooking in the house, and I truly enjoy it.
Great.
A talent, I don't know, but a hobby is biking for me, especially mountain biking. That's something I've been doing probably for the last 20 years, and and I love it. Just because you always take a chance in getting thrown off the thing and let you know you're living a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you, me and Tyler Packnick, our director of player development, we've been out on the mountain bikes, so we might have to catch up with you sometime.
Wow, yeah, absolutely.
And we and again, like you, I love cooking. I do. I love it, and that's cool. That's a good connection that we have.
Yeah.
All right. And then let's go into the third strike here. Any your baseball idols growing up? Who were your baseball idols?
Well, you think it'd just be pitchers right away, but there's one that stands out to me, of course, is Dennis Eckersley. Just the way he went about his business, the success he had, and just, his delivery and stuff was, I guess, kind of similar to mine. And he's somebody that I looked up to, tried to emulate a little bit. But as I was growing up, there's so many good players I looked up to, because as a youngster, I was shortstop or whatever, and then pitcher. But of course, once I got into high school, my high school coach changed that, made me strictly a pitcher, and which was good because it made me focus on something, for one thing, and I learned the craft. But Dennis Eckersley. But there's other players like position players. Ron Say, Davey Lopes. The Dodgers team back in the day. But Dennis Eckersley stands out as a guy I looked up to.
Well, awesome. Well, Tommy, thank you so much. It's been a blast. Pleasure having you. And I know this is something that's been really beneficial for me to make a connection. I know our fans and our alumni have been reaching out saying how awesome it is to kind of not only see videos about our current players, but now to start having these connections, and it's bringing back memories about these guys that they watched play, and that are now out in life, doing life. And so thank you for your time.
Well, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thumbs up to you. Appreciate you doing this.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.